Hi guys, I'm here today to talk about a few stuff that's been happening recently and yeah, causing me a few stressful moments, bringing up old feelings and of anxiety and just putting me in a foul mood really. And you know, everybody know that when you're in a foul mood you don't really function as how you probably would normally function. Well, I don't really function how I'd normally function, especially when the situation is to do with one of my children. Some would say, oh, Rosemary, why are you coming and YouTube and talking stuff about your children and everything? You know, yeah, I'm on YouTube, I'm having a laugh and a joke in terms of like highlighting that fun side of stuff when I'm going out and doing little things. So, you know, as I said previously, you know, this is my way of expressing myself, getting things off my chest and stuff. So if I'm going to show the good side, why not show the bad side and the serious side of life as well? You know, I'm not here to pretend like, you know, everything is rosy on my end, so to speak. Recently, I've got a teenage son, and we have our problems. Like most of the stuff that happened that I'd say really tug on my heartstring in the past has been around him. You know, he's been getting on really well, had issues in the past. I'll touch on that a little bit just to give you an idea of where I'm coming from and what I'm talking about. You know, at the end of the day, you know, when you're children, I've been a child before, I didn't just appear big. When you're children, you think you're, what's the word, untouchable, those words to express the situation sort of thing, when that is not the case. Because I've went through a situation when my method of punishment was hitting them, like stretch your hands out, get hit in this hand, get hit in that hand, so to speak. Got in trouble in the past for it. A lot of stuff, you know, getting picked by people in authorities, stuff like that. We went through quite a lot. And you know, they done the investigation, seeing that I was a single parent, doing my best, etc. And things, they didn't have any reason to give me any severe punishment, thanks be to God. When they done the investigation, to find out, you know, I'm just trying my best as a mom to look after my kids and to discipline them, you know, how I see fit. Pointed out that that's against the law, blah, 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 which, you know, yeah, we've been through it where everything was, I was investigated in all sort of palaver. I left my job in those times. It just was a bad time for us, you know. Nothing major come from it. I had to go to different meetings to be there stating my case. I'm a single mom and trying to look after 3 children that's been left on me. I tried my best. I felt like I was not really being listened to. I was pulled apart and all the power was basically in my child's hands. I didn't tell any lies because I was just honest about what was taking place. And, you know, they decided that I needed to go to a few meetings and sessions and talk things through. It was a really bad time. And when I was going through that, he felt like all the power was in his hands. He wasn't really cooperating till I had to call social worker in and get him taken away. It wasn't the best social worker. She wasn't looking to help me. She was like fighting against me. I never really get much support from that side of things. I've had 2 experiences of social worker, one which was really good and positive and another that was really bad. In them times when, you know, my child was about 11 when the incident was raised, and I didn't feel like I was supported. I felt like I was dragged apart from a mom that was trying her best to grow her children, and just feel like I was a victim, basically, you know, at the time. Cut a long story short, because I don't really want to go into that. I'm just kind of giving you guys an idea of the history behind things. So I've always struggled with growing this particular child, because he doesn't really want to take responsibility for his behavior. I went through a phase where didn't really want to do nothing much, like didn't really want to do anything. Just things got deteriorated, where I myself had to call him to say, you know, well, if this is the way he's gonna be, I don't want anything negative on my watch. So he was removed for like 6 months. The social worker didn't deal with the situation wrong, used to tell me that he don't want to see me, used to tell him that I don't want to see him, etc. The list goes on. So it was a really bad experience, really nasty experience. Anyway, my background, we're from a godly family and I believe in God. So, you know, one day I remember just saying to myself, you know what, Rosemary, let all of this go. When they done their research, they see that the other children, everybody was fine. You know, it was just a difficult case of him following rules and discipline and stuff like that. I'd be at work. Left one of the times, incident where I left my niece. He wanted to cause havoc with my niece. You know, I'm thinking, you know, I'm at work. You know, she's in charge, why are you doing this, sort of thing. So at that point, even when they were talking about me hitting him, it wasn't a case, nothing of the sort. It's just because he wanted to go off and do his own thing with his friends when he should be coming home at a certain time from school, etc. Didn't want to do that. I ended up leaving my job because of the stress. And so, cut a long story short, he was removed at that age, by 11. Don't know if I'm going back and forwards with that topic. Bottom line is, like I said, they wasn't communicating to say that it was fine for me to see him or fine for him to see us, sort of thing. It was very bad situation where there was things that was said back and forth that was not true. So we didn't get to see each other for a long period of time. About 6 months it was, when it, yeah, about 6 months. So I just remember one time I just said, you know, let me let this all go. It's my child, he know where he lives. He still used to go to the same school that he still goes up to this day. So they didn't change his school. He was old enough to know where he lived. I said to myself, with conviction, like, we're a family that believes in God. I said, you know, he knows where he lives. He's going to walk right through that door. I went through periods where I was judged. I went through a period where the other siblings was like, not so much my daughter. She was very young at the time, so she was feeling the stress of it and acting up in some ways, but she never really acted up in school. But my second child, my son, used to have times when he was acting up in school because he felt at a loss. His brother was no longer home. Well, that it caused a big uproar. Anyway, one side kind of like decided, I'm not going to any more of their meetings, you know, that's it, I'm staying home, because it was playing havoc with my mental state, basically. Stressed out, it was just a mess, and I was trying to keep a hold of my children that wanted to stay at home and was behaving themselves. So I had to make a decision to hold myself together and keep strong, to keep a hold of those two as well. Yeah, so I had a really tough time, you know, and like all of the things I was trying to tell him, you know, he didn't really want to understand. He didn't really take it on board. But one day he just happened to come and knock on the door and came home. And you know, we spoke, and I said to him, you know, at the end of the day, they didn't remove you from here, so there's no reason why you can't be here if that's what you want. You can tell he missed us, you can tell he didn't want to go back way to where he was, etc. So I just tell him, you know, what his rights was and stuff like that. The initial social worker that we had, she was no longer working at that place because she was something else. There was a different social worker. She was very nice. She came, spoke, and then that situation, he didn't want to go back, so he was back at home with us. Yeah. That wasn't that's one that came and talked things through. She was just like there for a one-day thing. That wasn't the one that I said to you that I had a good experience and a bad experience with. That was a middle social worker that came just to sort the issue out of him wanting to stay home. Just to give you guys a point. Anyway, he was fine when he came home. I think everything wasn't quite as normal. It took a while for things to settle back down because little things were still happening, and to the point where other people would say that maybe it's because he's back, the other children was acting up a little bit more. I've taken on board that my disciplinary wasn't the best, so I cut out all the hitting, all of those things, and try to use words to explain to them when they do something wrong or do a timeout situation, stuff like that. So, you know, things was a bit rocky, but it was okay. Then, you know, he had time again when he started acting up again. To the point, as he's getting older, he's acting up, going off with his friends. Next minute, you know, the same people that used to say as if I was a problem, now figuring out that he's the problem in their eyes. I had one point where this woman calling up my phone saying to me, oh, would I like him to be barred from this area and that area? And I was like, you know, these people think I'm stupid. Am I going to condemn my own child? So all I did was I tell her to, you know, no thank you. I'm not going to be putting anything to say I want him to be barred from anywhere. Because, you know, in hindsight, like, I don't want to go into that topic in the sense like, if I'm going to bar my child from anywhere that he's not able to move around free, once he's been caught in that area, there's things, because people will tell you, oh, there were situations when they tell you, oh, if he doesn't come home at this point, call 101 and tell and report it, blah, blah, blah. You know, you do all of the, follow all of those protocols, then that's when you can find his name that crop up in the system along. They don't think about like what the knock-on effect, your name start flagging up, because they're always telling you what, yes, you're meant to follow certain protocols and stuff like that, but they don't tell you what these things add up to, and they just give you the one-liner. They don't say to you, oh, going down the line, this child could end up with like a long list of record. You're going to show how many times a parent had to call to say, oh, he hasn't come home this time or that time and stuff. They don't tell you all of these things. They just tell you surface stuff. And if you're a person that you're not using your own initiative, or you don't come across another situation where things like that happen. In my case, I haven't come across any situations. My first child, first experience of all of this situation. Single mom, where they were born, we moved area. So, you know, I felt alone at times, really alone at times, and helpless, and feel like, and vulnerable and fearful. The list goes on. The list goes on of all the emotions that I've been through. So, you know, what I learned, there was situations like I attend their meeting and then you feel like you've been attacked. And I'm thinking, you know, I'll come to this meeting following the procedures of what I'll come to say, or come to this meeting. When I'm telling you my story, you're attacking me. There was like just loads and loads of things that happened, which was damaging to me, even as a mother, how I felt, because in my mind, I'm trying the best to hold on to my kids, to point out their dangers, to point out what could happen from certain things that they would do, like staying out late, or if somebody have to take you home, or somebody to come in. I talk to my kids about a lot of things, and at the end of the day, you know, I touch onto this topic. In any situation, sometimes when you meet people these days, you might not never see them. They haven't got any loyalty to you based on, they don't know the facts. So sometimes a decision, it's not going to be accurate to the life and whatever you're going. Sometimes, you know, you have situations where people being wrongfully sent into prison, stuff like that. You go to the hospital, you might deal with this doctor, next minute you know you deal with another doctor, no communication. These days, most of the situation you find, it's like communication doesn't follow through. You talk to one person today, you have to repeat the whole story from the beginning the next day to another person, etc. It's just like, I don't know what's going to happen in this world for things to get back to a more personalized personalized situation. I don't think things are getting more and more modern. I don't know if it could ever change where it's more personalized. You feel like people are judging you, not being helped, and you're just left to clear up your own mess. Because years follows where, you know, when he started getting into the problems that I was trying to point out for him from when he was very young, and hanging out with people that's doing negativity, he doesn't have to be there when that situation happened. But as long as he's there another time and somebody get pulled for something and he's there, and he becomes involved, or his name is attached to that situation, you know, thank God, touch wood, nothing negative has come out of him being associated with situation that he's not meant to be associated with. But you see what I'm saying? It's like, it's so hard for you to let your children understand where you're coming from. And sometimes in his case, sometimes I feel like he doesn't even care, don't care what happens to him. So therefore, he's leaving us. Because when I actually had to get him to be removed, is when I realized sometimes he never cared about himself and the danger that he was putting himself in and putting his family in at the same time. Obviously, he's a child, so, you know, I haven't really, all of those things that has been forgiven. But recently, again now, I see that he's trying to test out those things when he's meant to come home at a certain time. He's not coming home at the time, and he's touching into danger zone where 9, 10 o'clock at night, your 14-year-old is not in his house. He has asthma as well, and eczema. So hasn't really been keeping great health throughout his life, really, like ongoing. It's always something that you have to kind of make sure that he's good. Sometimes you want to send him somewhere, even though it's older than the others, you don't send him because you're scared that he's going to come back with a cold, or he's going to come back. But just let his friends call him once and he's off. You don't, you know, so you're thinking to yourself, I'm here trying to protect you. But as soon as your friends ring your phone or message you, or whatever the communication you got with them, you're off. You don't think twice. You don't think about anybody else. You're just gonna do what you want to do. So he said that, oh, can I go to a party? Previously, you asked properly to go to the party. I said, okay. I even got him new bits and pieces because he's needed some bits. And by the end of the week, he was there offering the school, before the party held, was at his school offering the teacher a punch. So because of that trouble, he never ended up getting to go to that party. Because I'm not going to be rewarding him for bad behavior. So he was grounded. He couldn't go to that party. Another party came up again. Oh, Mom. A couple of weeks later, another party. Oh, Mom, can I go to that party? So I did not say yes for him to go to the party. Friday night comes. The night before the party, he went off out. Did I send him out? No. am I allowed to go? I said, no, Ramar, it's got snow covered out there. You're not of good health. Stay home. You're better off staying home. Did you listen? No, you went off. What am I going to do? Being tug-of-war with a 14-year-old? No, I've got a 8-month-old baby to be looking after. I can't be there tossing around with a 14-year-old. I'm not even allowed to be touching him. As far as I'm concerned, I don't touch none of them now based on what had happened in the past. Apart from words and time out, I do none of that. Anyways, he went off about his business. He came home late, after 10, something like that. I heard the doorbell buzzing when everybody's asleep. By the time I went downstairs, I didn't see any sign of him. I had to call him for him to come around from wherever he was walking off to come back in. That wasn't good enough. I just said a few words to him to tell him off and stuff, and for the seriousness of it. Because when you go through time after time after time of him trying to do negative situation, sometimes you feel like, you know, Rose, save your breath. Don't say anything, just give thanks he's home safe. Next night, the boy still have it in his mind to go to the party. The next evening, about 6 o'clock, I only see him turn up again in his jacket and everything. Mom, I'm going out. This boy, sometimes he be here. His hygiene is another problem. He don't run and go wash himself. Next minute, you know, he's turning up in his jacket, suited and booted. I'm going to a party. I'm sitting there saying, no, you're not allowed. You went out last night. I barely woke up to let you in. You're not going out. Did you listen to me? No, he went off again. So I was like, okay. I went to my bed. I had a phase where I went through, had one ear's outside, one ear's in, one eye's outside, one, if you can do that. Just for you guys to catch my drift when you're in your house, your other children in your house, but you've got one child outside. So can you imagine the havoc it plays with you, your mind and your body, and you're there trying to function and keep a household, but you have a child there, you know. And I know people will be probably laughing, saying, oh, my child is worse than this and blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm just talking about my life, my family, my child. I don't want him to be worse than this. I've got no time or tolerance for none of this. Touching back on the point just to finish off the Saturday night when he went off. I went to my bed, sound asleep. I didn't hear nothing. I got about 3 something in the night. Came downstairs, check his room. He was not there because sometimes his sibling let him in or he find other means to come in. Was not there. So I went back upstairs, checked my phone. Then I got a message to say that he was with somebody who was safe. To where I can say, okay, you know, thanks be to God. Well, I'm like, you know, I'm not going to sit here in fear. I'm not going to be here worrying myself when this child want to carry on like he want to do what he want to do. And I'll tell you another thing. It's like a child where he can't have a phone because his phone it's like he just have the phone to communicate with his friends. I can't get through to him on his phone. It is pointless. Nobody can get through to him on his phone except for his friend, or for him to stay in his room chatting for hours on end. So he cannot have a phone because he don't manage himself properly. He don't function properly. It's worse when he has a phone. I barely see my son when he don't have a phone. When he does have a phone, it's a whole nother story. That's it. He gets upset easily. He doesn't do much. Nothing at all when he does have a phone. When he do have a phone, sometimes, you know, you see your child coming through. Oh, help me with this. You get a calmer answer, a bit more help. You know, he's doing a bit more things. As soon as he has a phone, everything gone through the window. And like touching back on the point, they don't know about the things that's going to happen when I start picking up or talking to 1 or 2 people about the situation, saying, oh, call the police. I know I can call the police, but I know that that police situation, they're going to be building up their record, and if I have to call them, I'll be calling them if I leave him to do what he please. And every time I say, oh, let him go off, call the police, I could be calling them 3-4 times a week, depending on the mood he's in, because 1 month he could be on 3-4 times a week, and he could be going months and months without giving any problem and behaving himself. But if I dare calling the police, it's the same reason I get a call out of the blue once saying to me, oh, incidents been happening, my child's name popped up. I said, did anybody say that he was there at that particular time? No. But would I like him to be barred from this area and that area? What kind of nonsense? These children don't know that this is how people make a record of you. And these people don't care about the lives if it affects. As in, when my child got a record or something out of the blue, because he's not a bad child. He just want to do what he want to do. And when I was trying to take my time to teach him as time go by, I didn't get any support. Yeah, if I'm doing something wrong, yeah, I deserve to be told, Miss Reed, you're doing that wrong. You know, not to be acting as if I'm a prisoner, basically. Because they never charged me with anything, but they did treat me like I was a prisoner. Day after day after day, and the effect it had on the whole family. Ripping us apart. You can't build back your life. Now, I got to the point where, you know, my video is going to cut off, so I'm going to have to stop now. Maybe I do another segment, or I just leave it here. But just, you guys get the gist of it. I've got a young child.